You're watching USA News Hub, your home for breaking headlines, trending sports stories, and exclusive updates from across the nation. The room was filled with billionaires. The dresses cost more than houses. The power in that ballroom could move markets. Then a 20-year-old athlete stepped onto the stage. And with one message, she silenced them all. The chandeliers glowed softly above a sea of designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. Crystal glasses clinked. Quiet laughter floated through the air. Fortune 500 CEOs. Industry titans. Global influencers. This was New York at its most elite, a black-tie charity gala where power, money, and influence gathered under one roof, not to be challenged, but to be celebrated. And then, Coco Gauff took the stage. The occasion was prestigious. Coco Gauff was there to accept the AARP Andrus Award for Intergenerational Service, an honor given to individuals who strengthen communities across generations. Most recipients follow a familiar script. They thank their teams. They thank their families. They deliver a short, safe speech. The audience applauds politely. The evening continues. That's what everyone expected. That is not what happened. Coco Gauff didn't talk about Grand Slam trophies, world rankings, endorsement deals, fame or fortune. She didn't mention tennis at all. Instead, she paused, looked out at the ballroom, and spoke with calm, steady clarity. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't wander. She knew exactly what she was about to say. If you are blessed with success, she said, use it to lift others. The room quieted. No one should celebrate comfort, she continued, while children have no chances. Some guests shifted in their seats. If you have more than you need, she finished, it isn't truly yours. It belongs to those who need hope. Then she stopped. No applause. No murmurs. No polite laughter. Just silence. According to multiple guests, the moment felt unreal. High-profile donors froze. Executives stared straight ahead. Celebrities lowered their eyes. This wasn't a feel-good quote. This wasn't inspirational fluff. This was accountability, spoken calmly, delivered respectfully, but impossible to ignore. Truth hits differently when it isn't shouted, but lived. Coco Gauff wasn't speaking from theory. She wasn't lecturing from a distance. She was speaking as someone who rose to global fame as a teenager, became a multi-millionaire before 20, understood privilege and responsibility. She wasn't condemning success. She was redefining it, and the room knew it. Clapping hands. Why the applause didn't come right away. People expect athletes to entertain. They expect gratitude. They expect humility. They expect inspiration, without discomfort. But Coco Gauff offered something else. She offered reflection. And reflection isn't always comfortable, especially when it comes from someone young enough to be underestimated, but wise enough to challenge the most powerful people in the room. Speech balloon. Success means nothing if it doesn't serve others. Then came the line that would echo far beyond that ballroom. Success means nothing, Gauff said, if it doesn't serve others. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. It was matter-of-fact, and it landed like a hammer. Collision. Then she backed it with action. Just when the room thought the moment had passed, Coco Gauff took a breath and changed lives. That same night, she announced a commitment that stunned even the most seasoned philanthropists in the room. $50 million initiative dedicated to underserved children across the United States. Not someday. Not eventually. School where the $50 million is going. According to the announcement, the funding will support after-school education programs, youth sports initiatives in underserved communities, community education centers, mental health resources for young people, college scholarship funds. Not branding projects. Not vanity donations. Infrastructure for hope. Puzzle piece leadership that doesn't need a microphone. At that moment, the room understood something profound. Coco Gauff wasn't asking anyone to do what she herself wouldn't. She wasn't performing generosity. She was practicing it. That's why the silence returned, briefly. Then something changed. Clapping hands. The applause that finally came. Slowly, one person began to clap. Then another. Then an entire ballroom rose to its feet. Not out of obligation. Out of respect. Because leadership doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it wears sneakers, and speaks with conviction. Coco Gauff is one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet. She could have stayed silent. She could have stayed safe. She could have stayed comfortable. Instead, she chose to lead. And in doing so, she reminded the world, athletes aren't just brands. They're citizens. They're voices. They're catalysts. Dove, growing up under a global spotlight. Coco Gauff has lived her life in public. She turned pro as a child. She faced pressure most adults never experience. She learned early that words matter. But she also learned that silence can be a choice. And sometimes, a harmful one. This speech wasn't spontaneous, it was intentional. Lightbulb: why this moment matters. In an era where success is measured by net worth, followers, endorsements, power, Coco Gauff offered a different metric. Impact. Not what you earn, but what you return. Fire the generational shift we're witnessing. There's something happening in sports and culture. New generation of stars is emerging. They're not waiting to retire to speak. They're not separating success from responsibility. They understand something deeply human. If you have influence, you already have a duty. Microphone: the power of quiet conviction. What made Coco Gauff's moment unforgettable wasn't volume, it was composure. She didn't attack. She didn't accuse. She didn't shame. She invited the room and the world to think bigger. Brain: why the world paid attention. Because credibility matters. Because action matters. Because when someone who could keep everything chooses to give boldly, it forces reflection. You can disagree with opinions. You can't ignore integrity. Trophy: redefining greatness. Coco Gauff has already achieved what most athletes dream of. But that night in New York, she achieved something rarer. She reminded millions that greatness isn't defined by trophies, it's defined by what you do when no one can force you to care. Seedling: the ripple effect. That $50 million won't just fund programs, it will keep kids off the streets, put books in hands, create safe spaces, open doors that were previously locked. And long after tennis records fade, those lives will continue. Coco Gauff will win more matches. She will lift more trophies. She will headline more tournaments. But for many, this moment will stand above them all. Because it wasn't about tennis, it was about humanity. In a room full of people who had everything, a young woman reminded them, and us, that having more only matters if you use it for others. She didn't raise her voice. She raised the standard. In a world obsessed with wealth, Coco Gauff chose wisdom. In a room filled with power, she spoke truth. And by backing her words with action, she proved that real success isn't measured by what you keep, but by what you give. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that's shaping America and the world. We'll see you in the next update.